But when I ran it by her, she said, I have 3 friends who have talked about it. She was just over the last 2 weeks. They were talking. She goes, they don't. They'll ask me questions.
I wouldn't
I get my
plan to on the general plan.
She goes, they just
Do anything with that. Maybe 10 years down the road, a future, but.
want to get a place.
I think the only reason I know how is because I was doing
Yes. That was me too. That's the only reason I knew. Yeah, I was in business. So. Anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, I just wanted to.
Welcome, everybody. We want to start our city council meeting, the first one of 2025. It's very well attended here tonight. Thank you all for your participation. We're going to start with an invocation offered by Jason Lethbridge, Director of Development Services, and then after that, Chief Watkins is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be able to gather together this evening. We're grateful for the freedoms for this good country that allows us this opportunity. Please bless us this evening as we review these issues and items together with civility and care for each other, but also we appreciate those who are willing to step forward and participate in this process. We're grateful for those who lead this city, who make all that we do here possible. We are thankful for all that we have been blessed with that acknowledge thy hand in that, and we say so in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Audience, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Chief. Let me start out by saying, as we move to our citizen comment portion of the meeting here, item 3, we do have 3 issues slated for public hearing. And if you're here to speak to one of those public hearings, I'd ask that you just hold your comments until then. And let me ask, I think the popular item on the agenda tonight is item 9C, which is the rezone at approximately 3516 West, 126 South. How many are here to speak to that? Okay. Can I ask how many are in opposition to that? How many are for? Okay. Let me do this, because we have so many. To help it go more orderly, I'm going to ask our communications director, Josh Lee, to distribute some cards. If you want to provide public comment, we have received a lot of emails as well, and those have all been reviewed by council members, taken as part of the record. But given you can see how many are here, If you are wanting to speak on behalf of a larger group, we can do that too. And I can afford you a few more minutes than the 3 minutes we usually give in the public hearing. Okay, so I would ask that if you can kind of consolidate your comments or find those that you might, you want to speak on their behalf, then that will allow us to go through this meeting a little more timely. But outside of those issues, the rezone at 2284 West, 126 South, the one off 118 South Redwood Road, and the one there that I just mentioned, 3516 West, 126 South. If you're speaking or want to make public comment there, you'll have ample opportunity to do so when we get to item or agenda number 9. Right now, the citizen comment is really for anybody else that wants to address the city council. If you want to speak outside of those 3 items, please step forward. Give us your name so our city recorder can capture that, and then be given about 3 minutes to address the council.
I'll be very brief. I'm Suzanne Wood from South Jordan. I wanted to introduce myself to the City Council and to the mayor tonight. I recently was appointed to fill Tracy Miller's seat on the Jordan School District Board. I look forward to working with you for the best interests of the citizens of Riverton, its students and parents. It's nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the citizen comment portion of the meeting tonight. Move to item 6, elected official reports. If we have any of our elected officials that want to report in their station as city council members or any of the boards that they currently serve on that'd be of interest to the city, please, we can start with Councilmember Baroker. Do you have anything for this evening?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much. Apologize to all of you. I look ridiculous now because my glasses just broke. But so goes it. A couple of items. One, I just wanted to let the rest of the council know that I have been working with the city as far as getting a policy in place. I've had several residents contact me about placing plaques on city benches in remembrance of loved ones that have passed away. And that policy is nearly complete, hopefully should be complete by tomorrow. So I think for a cost of $1,000, it's been determined you could have that plaque placed on a bench that's already in the city. You can't choose where you want that bench to go. Second of all, the unified meetings, I don't really have much to report except to state that yes, the conversations regarding the fee increase, 3-man versus 4-man, they continue to be ongoing, plus the fact that the county wants us to really clearly define the policy regarding how much money the county gives to Unified Fire. And then I think I had one last one. Give me a minute here to see if I can find it. I did have the opportunity to attend a great policy meeting in Washington, D.C., which was very interesting. And one of the speakers is working on a project to help train public officials regarding emergency preparedness after the disaster. And so hopefully we'll get that lined up for a work meeting session where he can come and share that information with us. And that's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Perucci.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items. One, I serve on the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District Board for the city and also represent Harriman and used to represent Bluffdale, but with the changes will no longer represent Bluffdale in the district boundaries. So there have been changes to the boundaries there. Also, just for the residents' awareness, the EPA has been told to relook at safety levels of fluoride in water. And that's something that's been a topic of conversation at the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District Board meetings. There is a lot of data that's showing that there are concerns with the levels, not with the levels that we have in our communities right now, but the numbers just keep adjusting. And so that's an ongoing conversation at the water district and amongst communities. And I know it's a conversation that we're having here at the city level too, which I appreciate the mayor bringing that up. Those are the big items.
Thank you. Councilmember McKay.
I don't have anything to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McDougall.
Yeah, just briefly, we will be moving our Trans-Jordan annual all-day meeting to February 6th, where we'll be going into more detail on the opening of the Sandy transfer station and then the construction for the transfer station out here as we prepare to, we're roughly probably 4 years away, 5 years away, 6 years away. Okay, good. You're recycling well. But we're roughly 6 years away from transitioning from the Transjordan landfill down to our new site. So we'll be having that all-day meeting in February.
Thank you. Councilmember Heyman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Coming off the holidays, things are pretty light. I did attend a training from the Utah League of Cities and Towns on the RDA and use of RDA. I know we use that across the street very effectively, and there's quite a bit of things that can be done for the city with that, and just want to make sure we're keeping an eye on that when we need assistance or help. RDA stuff's out there for us.
Thank you. For my part, I will just mention a couple of things. Our city conducts an annual strategic plan. We have that this Saturday, and it is an open meeting. I think we're going to run from 8 to 2, 3, 8 a.m. to 2, 3 p.m. Every 2 years, we conduct a resident survey. We didn't have one this December, past December. It was the other December. We've got a lot of engagement by residents on that. We've had well over 3,000 respondents every single time we've done a survey. That's really what we look to create the vision and mission statement you see back there, our strategic plan. The strategic plan is a 4-year plan, so we're 2 years into it right now. And we've accomplished, quite a bit. And those strategic planning meetings are very important to lay the groundwork for the budget. Our budget year is July 1 to June 30. So it's not coincide with a calendar. It's just called a fiscal year. And, this past several years since we self-provided law enforcement, for example, back in 2018, I think the cumulative savings now in terms of property tax is around $21 million. So it's a great move for us to have exited the countywide taxing district and UPD, now self-provide. We've got, I think, remarkable service. We've saved as well in other areas, and our utility fees are amongst, I think, the lowest in the valley. And so we really pride ourselves on that. And it's because we have a very conscientious planning effort with our elected officials and with city staff to go through those. It's pretty remarkable that we're able to do that year after year. Getting a lot of sales tax revenue as a result of areas like Mountain View Village has really helped us keep those fees and taxes very, very low. But 21 million, versus what it would have been had we stayed into the countywide taxing district is a big, big difference. I'll also state, I issued a statement earlier today just with respect to enforcing the law and working with our police department. Recently, we've had our governor and our state legislature express their sentiments. We have an incoming, new administration. The outgoing administration has been very difficult. I know working with ICE, and we wanted to be able to express support that we are going to support the incoming administration just with respect to rule of law. And irrespective of your immigration status here in our city, if you are captured or if you're caught in criminal activity, we're going to enforce the law. We're going to prosecute, and we're going to cooperate with federal agencies and not be a shield or sanctuary city like some of these other cities across the country. So we're all about working with our county, state, and federal partners in upholding the law. Item 7A, I have one proclamation to make, and we'll ask Chief Watkins to come up and give his brief presentation for the UFA. I've done this now, I think, every year that I've been mayor. We have a Religious Freedom Day. January 16th is noted as Religious Freedom Day in America, and that was first instituted by Congress back in 1992, and it coincides with a Virginia state statute for religious freedom that goes all the way back to 1786. And we know that many that came here to this country, that were first immigrants, that were founders of this country, did so on the basis and motivation for their desire for religious freedom. And because of that, We seek mutual respect and fairness to all in the right to exercise one's own individual conscience. I therefore proclaim January 16, 2025 as Religious Freedom Day in Riverton and recognize the religious freedom of all residents in our city. Now we'll move to item 7B. Chief Watkins.
Mayor and council and citizens of Riverton, I just want to say I'm very thankful to be standing before you tonight and giving everybody a review of what 2024 looked like related to EMS and fire response within Riverton City. Next slide. This is going to capture all the data from 2019 to 2024. 2024 was the high water mark at 2,168 incidents within the city. I need to be very clear. Next report, I will be communicating what mutual aid, meaning service going outside of the city, looks like. This all happened within the city. So this is at a 7.49% increase. Now this was firefighter math, so give me a pass if I got it wrong. I believe it is right though. Top address received, and this is important when we talk about some of the care facilities, rehab centers, senior living centers, places like that. The top address within Riverton City received 90 911 responses in 2024. 20 different locations were the top addresses. The lowest in that top 20 was about 10 responses. So I'm more than happy to sit down with any council member or any Riverton City official and go through all that data if you have interest in doing that. So I think that's important. Let's just stay here just for a second. It's important to notice too that about half of those responses were priority 1 calls, meaning emergent calls, meaning heart attack, stroke, something like that, to where it's exigent that we get there in a timely fashion. We get there and we serve the community member utilizing those ALS resources. So I think that's important to understand. ALS meaning Advanced Life Support Resources. Next slide. This is the monthly breakdown, so we've been able to track that fairly well. I don't have the rhyme or reason to sometimes how we see higher numbers. Obviously, people are out in the summertime, and I think we see some higher numbers there. But that's the breakdown, is what the year looks like. Next slide. Fire dispatches. So we had outside rubbish fires. We had 10 of those. Structure fires, 9 structure fires within the city jurisdictional boundaries. Natural vegetation fires. Fire others, so they don't categorize in there. And then we had some mobile property fires at 5. You're going to notice, I'll focus on the bottom one, ALS. I don't really like that category because it's too broad, but it is a category. So about 200 of those just fell into that ALS. Sick person with 88, 68 motor vehicle accidents within Riverton City within the last year. Falls at 59, and then seizures at 51. Let's pan up to the next. Not the next slide, but just right up there. Perfect, Jason, thank you. Public service assistance, a lot of that happens. Anytime the public needs service or assistance and they don't have another option, many times they do call 911 and we respond and we help them with whatever they have going on. Unintentional system detector happens a lot. We go on a lot of those calls. We just make sure that everything's okay when we show up, and then we can reset and do it again on the next one. Quite a few false alarms, those happen. System detector malfunctions, again, many things happen like that. And we did have some combustible flammable spills and leaks within the 2024 year. Many things happen. A simple one that we see often is people spill gas into a spillway or into the sewage system or something like that, where we need to respond and mitigate what is going on. Let's pan back and then go to the next slide. Heat map, and again, I need to be very clear, this is all incidents, not just fire or EMS. So every place you see blue, you're gonna see that everywhere where you see those hot zones, that is where you see a higher density of call volume. And again, that is all different types of calls, from fire, from those detectors going off, from EMS calls. So that's what the city as a whole looks like. Next slide. One item that I've talked about a little bit, and I brought it to your attention a few times, is our business inspections. So I went through and I audited the business inspections that are just the basic ones that your crews get out and do. There are 441 business inspections, and again, that's the base level business inspections. Anything with any complexity, whether it has hazmat, special notification systems, or detection systems, that's going to go to our fire prevention, the fire marshal's office. So this past year, you saw our crews getting out and doing those inspections. This process is a mutually beneficial process where we get the situational awareness of the layout of the building. We get to see where the Knox box keys, so if we need to do after access to that building, we're not breaking or breaching a door to get in. We're using the Knox box. We're actually entering in through the front door through a key system, so it's very good. We're verifying responsible person information, meaning the manager. Many times what will happen is we'll come to a location where we can't verify whether we have fire or smoke inside, and we're going to contact that responsible person. They're going to come and open it so there's no damage to the business. Those are some of the takeaways. In that, what I do like about it is every fire crew has their area of responsibility, so they know exactly what they have to do. It's on a 2-year cycle. This software's working very well. I smile a little bit because I always find it a little comical when you try getting an older, seasoned fire captain some technology in their hand and get out and doing business inspections, but we get it done. So with all that said, in the tops portion, I think it's important to understand it's not UFA standard that we're judging these areas by, it's the International Fire Code. So every time we go through, we can actually go through a commercial building checklist by the International Fire Code. Again, it's not up to my discretion or somebody else's discretion. It is a standard, and generally speaking, business owners are very accommodating, and the decorum of the fire crews going in, and I mean, it's a priority that our tone is exactly right. If everything isn't a standard, they get a notice, a simple conversation, and then we come back and re-inspect it. Many times, like an egress is blocked or something like that, and we can fix it right there. Sometimes the extinguishers are expired and they can get those updated. We come back and we give them their business clearance. They get an email with their clearance and everything's good. So one more slide and then I'm open to questions. So on November 9th, we had an incident within Riverton City. It was on a garage fire where 2 firefighters caught on fire due to gasoline. Complexities of the incident, some things went well, some things went very poorly. One thing I want to make sure that I communicate with is every time we have an accident or things don't go well, we do a notification blue sheet. That goes out to Riverton City, it goes out to the officials. We're very open with the times that don't go well. So we get that notice. And then the green sheet is the investigation that shows all of that information of the things that went good, things went bad, and what injuries were, or how things ended. I would say organizationally, this is something we do good. We've had some close calls in the last year on different incidents, and this is one example of that. And I think I'll leave it at that. Next slide. Any questions from the council?
Thank you, Chief Watkins. I can see 2 council members, Perucci and then McKay.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Chief. I really appreciate all that you and the men and women of UFA do to serve our community. I did have one question on the assisting residents with like kind of public service calls. I mean, oftentimes it's people that have like fallen or need help with something. Is there something more that we can be doing as a community to try to bring those numbers down? Because when I see a statistic like that, I think that people don't have somebody else to call around them, and that makes me sad.
So it also makes me sad. One thing that our chief of the Unified Fire Authority is spearheading right now, and he's really excited about it, is community risk reduction. So many areas you can reduce that risk, whether it's a slip and fall, whether it's, what type of area people are living in, all those different things. He's actually putting in a position that's being blended to have a big portion of that portfolio into community risk reduction. And that's something we want to grow within the fire department. So if we have, let's say, some of these calls within the community are people that call consistently.
Yeah.
They run out of medication, or they have an issue, or they continually have issues, and we're continually supporting that, which isn't a bad thing, but the right thing and the best thing would be getting them the support they need, and that would fall into that umbrella of
Like I know of a
community
guy
risk
that
reduction.
kept calling, and then they found out it's because he had diabetes, and he didn't have a refrigerator to put his diabetes medicine in. And once he got a refrigerator, he had less medical challenges. And so there's situations like that where we could try to help find the root cause. But I would love, once you guys have that community risk person, to be able to have a dialogue once there's some challenges and maybe some solutions identified in our community that we could do as a city to try to help, or advertise to the city so that residents could do more to help alleviate these risk challenges.
I love it. One thing that just came to my attention, not in Utah, it's actually in Colorado, where they have a community risk reduction program, is after a fire in a neighborhood, that's a great time to go have the conversation with the neighbors about fire prevention. And I thought, that's something I've never experienced in my career, but I thought, what a great idea to actually, when everybody is actually thinking about it, to, leverage that and get that awareness out there. So,
That's it.
Yeah, one of our many resident volunteer committees, as you know, is emergency preparedness. This may be something they can weigh in on too. So, Josh, if you could help me note that, please. Councilmember McKay.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to mention that I was at an activity at a church, and a kid pulled the fire alarm, and we were very grateful when you came and were able to get it turned off, because it did interrupt the program. And since then I'm like, why are those so low? Those handles should be higher so that it doesn't happen so frequently. And I've also enjoyed serving as an alternate member on the UFA board. I've learned a lot, and it gives me a greater appreciation for what you do.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
Thank you.
in closing, I have one more thing to share that I just remembered.
Councilmember Heyman is also wanting to weigh in.
I'm sorry.
Can you hold that thought? Councilmember Heyman, you had something you want to ask? Or
Yes, Chief.
post?
Question for you. I know some of the calls that kept coming in were from facilities that had elevators that were out,
Yeah.
and the owners of the facility were either not wanting to jump on those elevators or get them repaired in a timely manner. Do we have any way to help encourage them to take care of their elevators?
So that would fall within the fire inspection. If they have a faulty working elevator, that would fall into there. I have fielded, and I don't necessarily think it was in Riverton, some calls where different occupants of a structure of a building that they're living there, maybe assisted living center, have called and complained to the fire department. I've lived through some of those. But because you have to provide egress in a lot of these buildings, and getting in one of those, especially if somebody is not ambulatory, not able to walk, needs to have access to that. So that would fall within that portfolio in the fire marshal's office. To a point, I wouldn't send out a fire crew. I would send the fire marshal's office to address something like that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Recently, something hit social media where it was related to a possible heart issue that had a great outcome. Stranger than fiction, we had another one that same night that I barely became aware of. I obviously can't share information about it unless they share it, where 2 times in one night the patients received return of spontaneous circulation and a good outcome. Kind of an anomaly. Christmas season 2024, going into the new year. So just thought I'd let you be aware of that as I became aware of it, and I was surprised. So
No, thank you. That was a great story, great outcome, and I think we're inviting them to attend an upcoming council meeting for recognition. So
wonderful.
Thank
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
thank you, Chief. Move to the consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent a member of the council would like to remove? If not, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
McKay seconds that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Ayes have it. Motion carries. I'd like to also move up item 10A, just the election of mayor pro tempore. We'll open the floor now for nominations and seconds on any nomination.
I'd like to nominate Councilmember Tish Broker.
I'll second.
Any other motion and seconded? Any other or nomination forwarded and seconded? Any other nominations? Seeing none, we'll close then the nominating period and we'll go to a vote. Jamie?
Councilmember McKay.
Yes.
Broker.
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
McDougall,
Yes.
Perucci.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you. The election of the mayor pro tempore is supposed to occur at our very first meeting in the calendar year, and it usually rotates amongst council members, so we appreciate, there's Councilmember McKay that filled that role. In the event that I'm out, if I need to step out of meetings or gone, can execute documents as well, so appreciate that. That probably will necessitate a seating arrangement change. We can handle that another time. Well, maybe we can talk about it on the 11th at our strategic planning meeting. So now we'll move to the public hearing items. How many are here for the Riverton undercar properties? Got a few. Are you the applicant, Tom Jacob? Okay. No, no. The applicant is not here. Tom?
Tom isn't here, no.
No? The owner. The owner. How many again are here for that issue? Just a few? Okay, great. Jason, why don't we go ahead then with that? I know again many are here for 9C, and we should be able to get there quickly, but if we can move in order, I'd prefer to do that.
Okay. So this is a rezone of property as was located off of 126 South. There's two properties involved, 2302 and 2314. Just to help kind of orientation, this is the canal here. Master Muffler is the business adjacent to it, and it's the two properties directly west of that. You can see there. This is just a little bit of a different angle. Again, the Master Muffler property is here. There's some office condos there. It is the two parcels in between, and the rezone covers both. The current zoning of the property is RR22. You can see the area along 126. There's a mix of zones. It is the different shades of blue, I'll say it that way because it shows differently on different screens, is a mix of commercial gateway and commercial professional office. The Master Muffler is commercial gateway. The office condos are professional office. And then as we move down 126, we've got a couple of remaining parcels at RR22. And then a mix again of retail and commercial zoning down to the corner. Similarly, but kind of opposite on the other side of the street, those are still filling in. We've got a couple of commercial properties in the purple and blue. The remainder is R4, which is the brown, and RR22. But in this case, this subject property is sided on both sides by either professional office to the west, commercial gateway to the east. The property to the north is an existing multifamily development. That is the color that you see there. The general plan for this area is professional office. However, that does include in that designation allowance for retail and similar uses. Again, we've got the Master Muffler along with some of the retail that we see along there. So the proposed rezone is to, there we go, is to commercial gateway, consistent with the property to the west. Again, while we do have that mix, both are compliant with or with the underlying general plan designation of professional office. There is not a use proposed. The applicant was clear in their application. They are just looking to develop the property. So at this time, it is simply a rezone. Planning Commission did forward it to you after their public hearing with a recommendation for approval with the motion that is shown on the screen.
Thank you. Is the applicant here then? Okay, great. Well, if you'd like to, sir, before we open the public hearing, I always afford the applicant an opportunity to come forward. If you have any other thing you want to say about it, and then we also like to give the applicant the last word at the public hearing if you want to.
My name's Keith Grundman, and I'm representing the applicants. And all we want to do is conform to the city master plan and for possible future development.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go ahead and open a public hearing at this time. Anybody that wants to speak on this proposed rezone, if you could please come forward, give us your name, and make sure our city recorder is able to capture that, and then be given about 3 minutes. Would any of you here like to speak about this rezone? Seeing none, you're going to make it really easy then. We'll close the public hearing on this item. And we'll remand it back to the city council for any further discussion or action, excuse me, here tonight. So Councilmember Baroker?
I'm prepared to make a motion if there are no questions, Mayor.
Council, I don't see any other discussion, so please.
I move the City Council adopt ordinance number 25-01, Riverton Undercar Properties rezoning a 0.88 acre parcel located at 2284 West, 12600 from RR22 to CG Gateway Commercial.
McKay seconds that.
Thank you. Motion and seconded. Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none. Jamie, could you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Baroker.
Yes.
McDougal.
Yes.
Perucci.
Yes.
McKay. Yes. Heyman.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank the applicant and those that came here in support tonight. That has been approved. We'll move to item 9B. This is the Sycamore Glen South rezone. Jason, if you want to level set, and I know the applicant is here too, and step forward and speak to it.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a property located just a little bit south of 118th. I apologize, this is a little bit of a busy drawing, but this is 118th South here in Redwood Road. The property is highlighted in yellow there. A little bit better view here with north to the left of the screen. You can see the proposed rezone property outlined in red. Another street area view. The current zoning is RR22. The surrounding zoning to the north and to the east is part of the Sycamore Glen development. It had an SD designation that allowed for a mix of residential uses. To the east are single family. The property directly to the north of this was approved for 10 townhomes. And the property to the south is commercially zoned. Let me go back, but is got a residential home on it. So the commercial zoning is there. It has not yet been developed commercially. And you can see the property to the north is currently vacant, but does have that approved site plan for townhomes on it. The general plan for this property is professional office. There was a period of time when all of the properties along here around the 118th intersection were designated for professional office. And that has not proved to be the direction of the primary development. So again, this is a remnant of some previous designations in the general plan. The proposed zoning designation, and this will take some explanation in just a minute, is RM14. And let me jump to a couple of other drawings. There's an SD designation proposed as well, because as I mentioned, Phase 1, which is part of the Sycamore Glen development, has the 10 townhomes along it. The applicant is the developer who was involved in that and is looking to essentially mirror that arrangement on this property. However, because the zoning for the Sycamore Glen property was a larger piece, the SD again included both single family, the allowance for multifamily, coming up with a zoning designation that effectively mirrored the use on this property was very difficult. There are 10 units that are shown here. That is what the applicant has proposed. The zoning is RM14 because that was the best way in looking at how to craft this to make it fit. So the SD designations that are proposed on this are to allow the RM14 zone with a limit to 10 units. So no more than 10 units, no more than 5 contiguous units. There's been a little bit of confusion on item 1, and I'll explain that. It says minimum lot size of 1 acre. That's not referring to, usually when we talk about lot sizes, we're talking about the lot the homes we've built on. That is stipulating that the parcel itself, because it is just over, cannot be reduced further in size. So that minimum 1 acre means the parcel can't be further split, that those 10 units have to occupy at least an acre of ground, and there's not any indication that it would be otherwise, but just because of the RM14 designation, we wanted it to be clear that acre was the minimum size. And then other zoning regulations to be consistent with the standards applied to the Sycamore Glen townhomes. Again, that is in reference to that approved project so that it is truly mirroring, regardless of ownership, how those properties were to be developed. This was the recommended motion from the Planning Commission for adoption with those 3 SD designations. following the Planning Commission's recommendation, there was some concerns raised about shared access. And let me go back to this. And this is a concept plan. The site plan itself will, if approved, will need to go through, if the zoning is approved, through its own process. There is an access to the north that is shared with the commercial development proposed there, as well as an access point onto the roadway into Sycamore Glen. Condition 4, and I apologize, this wasn't included in your staff report, just makes a matter of record that shared accesses need to be coordinated with all property owners involved and compliant with easements and agreements. There is an existing easement between the commercial property. That condition just ensures that that is addressed as part of development. That is something that's been discussed with the applicant. They're aware of that condition. That doesn't impose any new regulations. It just makes a matter of record in the zoning that all of that needs to be addressed. So again, the Planning Commission did forward this to you with a recommendation of approval of that RM14SD zones with items 1 through 3, and then staff has recommended the addition of item 4.
Thank you, Jason. If the applicant, Dave, you want to speak to add anything else before we open the public hearing, and in the event that council members have any questions, clarifying questions of you or staff, we'll open it up there. I guess the 14 again, because we don't have an RM10. We go from 8 units to the acre to 14, so that 10 in the special designation kind of helps ensure that the number of units aren't going to exceed that.
Yes, it does. And Mayor, Council, thank you so very much. Jason, thank you for that summary. I don't want to spend a lot of time going over this. I do want to thank staff and the council, thank them for their patience. We started the Sycamore Glen project about 4 years ago, and we did our best to listen to neighborhood concerns, and it has been a real effort in attempting to try to assemble a total of 4 or 5 parcels, and at the same time create an opportunity where we're not duplicating services as well. And it's a perfect example now that we're completing this, where we will not have duplicative services specific to detention ponds when this is finished. And so I want to again thank not only the council but also the staff for their patience in working through this, because this has been a very excellent effort and a proof that, you know, public services and the private industry can work together to create a nice atmosphere. Sycamore Glen we're very proud of, and we're very excited about some of the improvements that we're going to see to that detention pond in the future, and I think that will be very nice for those residents in that area. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions, but I think I'm going to leave it at that. I've got some slides, but I think we'll just leave it at that. And if there's any questions specific to the neighbors, I'll be happy to answer those as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Dave,
you,
I think we do have one, if you don't mind. Councilmember Broker, do you have a question of the applicant or staff?
Of the applicant, just 2 questions for you. One, that weird little piece that goes out to Melba Lane. Well, it doesn't actually go out to Melba Lane. What's your intent with that?
So when we complete, probably when we finalize all of the plating process, we'll look to discuss with staff what they believe is best for us to use that for. We probably at some point also will have a discussion with our neighbor also who that may have some value to them.
See if they can expand.
And see if they can expand right there. So that wouldn't be until we complete the plating process.
I believe the dimensions would lend themselves very well to a bocce ball.
Yes, it would work very perfectly, yes.
I just want to make sure that that is addressed, because we do have areas in the city where you have parallel fences.
A little
and
flag,
that always
yeah.
creates issues for fire department, et cetera.
Yep.
And then my second question is the Elite Academy. They will be able to enter from the Sycamore Glens area. Can they also still continue to enter from Redwood Road?
Yes. So
That will not be blocked. So
No,
if you're coming from if you're heading north, you can still enter the academy.
yes,
that
and
way.
what will happen also is that we will improve when this is finalized. Their access will be improved and widened. Their current access right now, and then in addition, they will have an additional access point onto Redwood Road in the event that things are more crowded. So it will improve access and traffic flow when we're completed.
I just remember when we had those initial hearings, there were a few residents that were concerned about that
Yep.
U-turn that was taking place. So anything we can do to assist with that, I think would have value.
Great.
And then my last comment, which is really not a question for you, but for staff, part of the original agreement also was that we would develop a park. And what are I believe we have set the money aside. What are the plans and intentions there?
Yes, so as was mentioned both in your comments, Councilmember Baroka, and the applicants, just to the east of this, what is the detention pond area also includes in its design some park space, a pocket park we'll call it, right at the west end. So that the design work has been finalized. It included some things occurring under the canal with water lines, and that's added a little bit of complexity to the process. But work should be proceeding on that early this year.
Thank you very much. And then my final comment is just simply to commend you, the developer, because when this started, it was a pretty difficult process. And one of my major concerns was making that road, that egress going east, look like a major highway for residents coming off of 118th. And I think you have really solved that problem beautifully. And I can't wait for those final 2 homes to be completed.
Yep.
And see how that traffic flows, and then we can look at the reduction in traffic, I hope, on Melba Lane. And then last, I will tell you, I have knocked on all those doors and talked to many of those new residents, and they're just excited and proud to be part of Riverton. Yep. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Doesn't appear so.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Appreciate
We'll
it.
open up the public hearing. Is anybody here wanting to speak to this proposed rezone? I would like to. Yeah, please. Can you?
Try to speak loudly so that I don't have to use
We'll maybe have Jason share his microphone because we're being recorded, the meeting. If
It's not on this one?
No, this one right here, just to your left.
Oh.
If you want to speak into that there, that way we'll capture your statement.
So this is not this specific thing, but the purpose for my being here tonight is to ask the council to be more mindful of traffic calming measures. We live just on 118th South, and even though it's not meant to be a major thoroughfare, it has become such. Emergency vehicles use it constantly, and every night you can hear people just roaring down the street at top speeds. We have a number of residents on that street that have small children, and I'm very concerned for their safety. There are calming measures that can be done, and so this is just my sole purpose is to say we could create smaller lanes, we could have more of a curvature. In 118th, we've got 3 lanes there, but to our north, we have 114th South, which should be a major thoroughfare. To our south, we have 123rd, 126th, and that is designated as a major thoroughfare. But 118th was meant to have kind of a dead end, which ended up with the development of Sycamore Glen, which I think is lovely, but our traffic has shot up probably at least 30% since there. And we live right on it, so we know what's going on there. We could put a flashing lane with the speed, you know, this is how fast you're going, please slow down. I understand that only works for about 6 months, but it is an option. We could put a tree canopy there. There is a median, there's a 3rd lane, and that could be adjusted slightly. We could put some shrubs there. We could put stop signs. And let's see, my final comment is, it was all planned out so that there's no direct access to the district. It's not meant to be a major thoroughfare, yet it is becoming such. And I would really like the council to be aware of that as we go forward.
Thank you. Can we get your name? I don't think
Christy Gardner.
Okay.
And one more comment, being mobility impaired, we don't have a ramp from the handicap parking area into the building. So something to be aware of.
Okay, thank you. I believe that we do at the Justice Court. It's just a little bit, we have that, correct me if I'm wrong, staff, but we should have multiple points where we've got that ADA accessibility, correct? Enter the building, so thank you. And as one that lives really close to 118, I understand and appreciate your comments. And we do budget every year for traffic calming measures. And those digital speed boards and other methods that you mentioned can definitely be reviewed. And our police chief is right behind you. And I know occasionally we have to beef up some traffic enforcement along certain areas. It definitely is a street that has been the beneficiary, and maybe not in a great way, of increased development to its west. And with a lot of the construction that's occurred with the sewer putting in their pipe and everything else, yeah, it's funneled people down a direction that they probably normally wouldn't travel. So thank you for your comments. Anyone?
Not to mention that emergency vehicles use that regularly instead of 114 and 126.
Yeah, thank you. And is a shared road with South Jordan on many stretches of it. So anyone else would like to speak to this proposed rezone? Okay, we'll close the public hearing then. Thank you for those that have commented, and we'll turn it back to the council for any further discussion or action. Councilmember Broker.
I'm prepared to make a motion if there's no questions.
I don't see any others. Nope.
Okay, I move the City Council adopt ordinance 25-02, Sycamore Glen South rezone, amending the general plan to high-density residential and rezoning a 1.04 acre parcel located at 11851 South Redwood Road to RM14 SD with the ST designations of 1 minimum lot size of 1 acre, up to 10 units total, no more than 5 contiguous units. Other zoning regulations to be consistent with the standards applied to the Sycamore Glen townhomes, and 4 shared access to be coordinated with all properties involved and be compliant with all relevant easements and agreements.
McDougall, second.
All right, motion and second. Any discussion to that motion? I guess my only discussion topic would be thanking the developer. We actually met on site yesterday, and there was some concern about the shared access with the dance studio there, and I think everybody is, I think, Jason, you reached out to that property owner too, correct? So I think we've worked out a good arrangement there, so
good.
Thank you. Jamie, a roll call vote then?
Councilmember Perucci.
Yes.
McKay.
Yes.
Haymond.
Yes.
Baroker.
Yes.
McDougall.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Thank the applicant and everybody who came to speak to this tonight. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 9C. We appreciate those in the audience that have been patiently waiting these 45, 50 minutes into our meeting to talk about this proposed rezone. Jason, why don't we have you kind of level set the conversation, and the applicant, Daniel Pelaez, here? Okay. And if you'd like to speak to it after Jason discusses it for a moment, we welcome you to the podium too.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposed rezone of property located at 3516 West, 12600 South. So in this drawing, this is 126, the intersection with 3600 West here. So you can see it's just a couple of parcels to the east of 3600 West on the north side of the property. It is just under 1 acre in size. The general plan for the area, and let me zoom in a little bit. The green color that you see in the general plan is estate density residential. To the west is regional commercial, and then to the south is a professional office designation that includes the hospital and the existing commercial development to the south there. The current zoning, and this has been a little confusing because the colors are exactly the same. The existing zoning is R1, which is a single-family residential designation with a 1 acre minimum lot size. That large green block there, the subject property is here. You can see that that entire block on the northeast corner of the intersection is similarly zoned R1. To the south is a commercial gateway designation. That property is under development commercially. And then to the west, if you'll recall, the general plan designation for the properties to the west is for regional commercial. However, the properties existing along that side of 3600 West remain RR22 and occupied by residential units. The proposed zoning for the property is commercial gateway. It does include just that acre piece. In response to a couple of questions I received, I just want to go over a couple of bits of information. The commercial gateway zone is predominantly a retail zone. It does include office. This is just from the description, but it is retail professional office in nature. It does have in its purpose integration with adjacent mixed commercial and residential zones. One thing with Gateway, it does indicate it's aligned with main arteries, Redwood Road and 126th, at or near entrances to the city. We've interpreted that, not specific to this application, but you can see we have existing commercial gateway along the corridors. The entry to the city, we have looked at major intersections as representing that. So despite that language, it is, as you can see, existing in the area. I know you can't read that, but the table of commercial uses for the commercial gateway zone, again, is predominantly retail and light office in nature. One of the other questions that came had to do with the residential character of the property. I just wanted to review very quickly. Our ordinances do allow for home-based businesses. We refer to them in our ordinance as home occupations. That is when the owner of the business is, or the owner of the home, we'll say it that way, applies for a home-based business. There are significant limitations on how those can operate, the types of uses, number of employees, storage and display of goods, work vehicles, things of that nature, in addition to the extent to which a residential home can be remodeled. And our ordinance is very specific that for a home occupation, a home can't be remodeled internally, eliminating kitchen, dining areas, bedrooms. Essentially, it has to be a home, owner-occupied, that someone is conducting business out of. Typically, that is for light office, things like daycare and that. One other point that I do need to make, because this question did come to us, as to whether staff had in meetings or discussions represented on either side of this question that an outcome was assured or guaranteed. I just need to be very clear for the record that that is not something that staff does. Even in situations where the general plan indicates that a property is designated for a particular use, we are very careful. In fact, both myself and my staff and all those involved in those meetings tend to err on the side of extreme caution in saying the outcome is not assured until a vote is taken. And especially in cases where the general plan itself needs to be amended, as that is the guiding document, we are careful to indicate in our meetings, in discussions both with council members, the public, applicants, and others, that even with a general plan designation in place, the outcome is dependent on the public hearing and final vote by the council. Thank you. I didn't mean to belabor that point, but I did want to make sure it was clear that that is both our consistent practice as well as the situation here. I learned many, many years ago, even when I thought I was confident in a particular outcome, it was never assured until a public hearing was held. In this case, the Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this application, has forwarded to you with a recommendation for denial, which is reflected on the screen.
Thank you, Jason. If we can have the applicant then come forward. Would you like to speak, add anything else? Okay, thank you. As you're doing that, Josh, can I ask for your help too? Those that wanted to speak to this, if you filled out a comment card, could you please, Josh, walk up and down the aisle? I found that when we have so many that want to speak on an issue, it becomes a lot more efficient to have me call out the name and then who's on deck, so to speak. And we can have people coming up, one after another. So those comment cards really help us facilitate a more orderly meeting. Thank you.
Yep. Hey, I'm Rob Freeman. So Daniel's our contractor, and that's why he's our applicant. I'm also the owner of First Choice Eating Air, so we own the property and the business. We are wanting to build. We want to be able to put our business there. We want to be able to use the home to run an office and a place just a place to meet with customers, and then build a storage space, like a shop in the back where we can have places to put our furnaces, air conditioners, whatever for our customers. I know there's a lot of questions about the traffic. We don't carry a lot of traffic. We have maybe 1 or 2 deliveries a day. There would be a handful of employees that would be there coming in and out. There wouldn't be more than, I wouldn't think, 10 or 12 of vehicles.
Well, thank you. If you could stay there for a moment, please. Let me ask if the council, if you have any questions of the applicant/owner or of staff before we open up the public hearing. Any? No? Councilmember McKay.
So you said you would be using the home, like it would be remodeled and it would be a showroom and have offices. And then were you planning to do anything in the back?
Yes, so we wanted to remodel it. There's a home or a house that was remodeled. It was Apex Insurance down here. I feel like they did a great job. That's kind of similar to what I would like to do, like just fix it up, make it nice, redo the landscaping, just make it a nice, fix up the area. It needs to be fixed up. It's got a drainage issue, some stuff like that. But yes, we would put a building in the back. So right now we run in a residential area right now, and we fit in a residential application. The problem is in ordinance, I don't live in that home, and I'm not comfortable moving my family into that home when it's on 126 with the amount of how busy it is. It's not safe for kids. It's just a place that doesn't make sense to be residential in my mind. So.
Okay, so is the home currently being used as a rental?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then Councilmember Heyman, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah. You answered it already. I was just going to ask, where are you currently operating out of? But you said in a residential neighborhood currently.
Correct.
And that's where at?
It's in Bluffdale.
Here in Bluffdale?
Yeah.
Out of a residential neighborhood. Okay. So.
I invited one of my neighbors to come. He lives within 30 feet of my building, just so that he could, tell, the type of noise or if there is any noise, like his honest opinion on, what it's like living next to us. So he'll get up and share.
All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing right now, and we'll afford the applicant owner the opportunity to speak there too, if you so desire. I only have 4 comment cards. I'm not sure if we have more that want to make public comment. If you do, raise your hand. We'll have cards distributed, but for those, because of there being 4, if you're here to speak for a larger group, we can give you a little bit more time. So I appreciate that. If we're able to consolidate so many voices into just a half a dozen folks or so that here that want to provide comment, but if you're speaking on behalf of someone else, we'll give you, upwards of 5 minutes or so instead of 3. But let's go in this order if we would. And Josh, I believe there was 1 or 2 hands that I think wanted a card. Raise your hand again if you needed a comment card. Okay. Let's go with Marvin Hagan, and then Lawrence. Lawrence will be up next.
Yeah, my name's Marvin Hagan, and my family owns Hagan Collision on 12600. The last time that road got developed, we almost went out of business. It impacted our business so bad that we barely made it. I'm just afraid to have more development there and more work on the road is my main concern. It isn't really the zoning that bothers me as much as the fact that if they widen the road or take more property from the homeowners there, that would be a problem. So that's pretty much all I have to say.
All right, thank you for your comment, Mark. Lawrence?
Just Lawrence Sorge. I live on Janus Drive, just down the street here. Just a couple of easy points. I'm not the best at this stuff. I mentioned this to the Planning Commission in reference to the big map, the zoning map that shows all the colors for Riverton. And and we can even go out further than that maybe, but there's not a lot of this light green left in Riverton, which is these 1 acre R1s. And I think part of what makes Riverton so amazing is that it has all these different areas. We've got residential, we got lots of great business, Mountain Village, you guys knocked it out of the park. That thing is amazing. But I don't think we need to keep chipping away at these really well planned out areas like this R1 that we have here in Riverton. I'd hate to see this start chipping away. And if you do look at the bigger map, I don't think that's all of Riverton, but I think there's a little bit more down by the golf course on the east part of town, and that's about it. We've got some half acres. We'll start getting rid of those maybe, in a couple of years. Who knows? I think that's pretty much the only point I had. That I don't think we need to repeat how we feel about this neighborhood and having animal rights and all that stuff. We went over that last time with Josh Thomas, and we shot that down luckily, and I appreciate that. So I think that's all I got.
And my apologies, that image is static. It didn't zoom out. I wasn't ignoring it. Just.
Let's go with Troy Anderson, and then Wendy.
How we doing? Appreciate you guys. Here we are again, and I appreciate what my neighbors, with their support and with the comments made. Again, yeah, exactly. There are not that many of these left. So, and I've sent this to everybody, but I'd like to read it to have it on the record. And I love living in Riverton. I'm very lucky to live in a pretty great neighborhood with fantastic neighbors. Neighbors who are not afraid to get involved to ensure their property rights are protected. With that said, we are here tonight to voice our opposition to another attempt to change the zoning in our neighborhood. The property owner of 3516 West, 126 South is proposing a zoning change to CG. This is not in line with the city's general plan. Our community has been established for over 50 years and was R1 by design, with very specific CC&R restrictions to preserve the rural open feel of our neighborhood. We enjoy that rural feel and everything that an R1 development offers, and the very reason that we purchased our homes in this neighborhood. We purchased our properties based on the assumption that Riverton City would preserve that general plan. Changing that plan would affect our property values and rights negatively. We would appreciate the Riverton City's Council support in recommending denial of this proposed zoning change. As is evident with my neighbors in attendance and by proxy, along with letters of oppositions submitted, that our neighborhood has spoken loud and clear that we are in opposition. So I am respectfully asking for your support in denying this rezone application. And I think that was, yeah, that's it. So again, not too many like this left. We're a pretty tight community, as it evident with everybody that's willing to get involved and show up, and we really like our neighborhood left alone. So thank you.
Thank you. Wendy? Wendy Orstott.
Hello. I gotta make this short. Here's the thing. We feel threatened and we're getting tired. It's just tired. We know this is gonna go on and on and on. It's an avalanche waiting to take off. So the first time you do this and allow it to go through, it's gonna go kind of crazy. I know it. You guys know it. You know how it works. I know how it worked. I'm from Draper. Saw that happen. I guess I have a couple questions. What is your end goal here with that kind of a thing? What would be your gain by doing that? Can I ask?
Really, no. I mean, this is intended for you to really just address the council with your concerns.
Okay.
We normally don't engage in dialogue back and forth on the public hearing. But
also,
if you pose the questions, however, during the conversation, the council and Susan later, they may answer some of those. So
I get it. Okay, thank you. I also don't understand the need to take a piece of that, peaceful set development there that's been there for a very long time and start like he said, chipping away at it a little at a time. That's what it'll be. It'll be, oh, it's just that guy. Well, no, because it was another guy a couple of months ago, and then it would be another guy. So, like I said, we all know how it works. I would rather not have it even start, if you can possibly see that. And that's, I think, how all of us feel in that development. And I appreciate you letting me speak. Thank you.
No, absolutely. No, appreciate your comment. As Marcus Wayman is coming up, maybe I will address quickly, you know, when you ask what is your end goal here, it isn't the city's. The city establishes every 5 years the general plan. We're doing it this year again. Like, we go through and do that, and we establish the zone. In both cases, general plan and zone, we saw what that is here with respect to residential R1 zoning. But property owners, applicants, they have the ability to apply for a rezone, and we can't prevent that from happening, nor would we want to. Frankly, they pay a fee, they come in, they follow a process that's defined, and so those that want to do that, we welcome them doing that. I understand that there's concerns if people continuously do that, but thank you for your comments. Marcus Wayman, and then if we have anybody else that wants to make comment after that, please let me know.
Mr. Mayor, you've stated my name, so I won't have to.
There you go.
35 years here. Moved here because of the flavor of this subdivision and peace, like if you used to live in Murray. Tranquility, drive into there and feel it. Ride your bike in there and feel it. Get off these main roads, go into that subdivision. So the only thing I would say is God help us.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Again, we have received, Jamie, help me out. I think there's been probably upwards of 15 to 20 emails that we've received that have been distributed to the council, I think many of which are here in attendance tonight. We saw again by show of hands those that were, how many are in opposition to this here tonight? Okay. And how many in support? Okay. All right. Do we have, would the applicant, I always like to try to afford, you know, we have them speak before the public hearing's opened. I like to also give them an opportunity during the public hearing to take a few moments too, if they so choose. It's up to you if you would like to make, you know, one final statement.
Yeah, I'm the applicant, Daniel Palais, for the record. But you know, I'm a small business owner. I'm a general contractor. Just been doing it for a few years, and I worked with Rob on a handful of different properties. And this one, my whole job is to find a way to make my clients, and in this case Rob's, dreams happen. You know, if this was anybody else's property in this neighborhood and they wanted to build a pole barn or something like that for their horses or anything like that, it's my job to make that happen. So that's why I come to the city. I say, hey, city, I want to do this, or I have a client that wants to do this. Here's their application. This is their dreams, basically, in essence. You know, can we make this happen? And then we follow the proper procedures, and we follow the codes, and we get everything planned out, and, you know, in accordance, which is why we're here today. And I think, you know, if there's a way for us to make this dream happen and make everybody happy, that's the end goal. You know, I've been in the Army for 10 years, 11 years now, and, you know, that's always our end goal, is to accomplish the mission. If the mission is to make everybody happy and get everybody on the same page and what it's going to look like, you know, just this screenshot, like they said, there's a lot of green up there. There's a lot of concrete up there. You know, I came from a rural town. I love to see green, but even just in the neighborhood, there's a lot of concrete. I don't even think we're going to add that much concrete to the property. It's still going to be pretty green from the sky. You know, we're just going to add a pole barn in essence. You know, so there's this image of commercial property, and it's mainly this stuff to the west, I believe, right, Jason? To the west. All that stuff is concrete. You know, that's not our goal. That's not our dream. Our dream is a nice, aesthetically pleasing property that everybody can enjoy. So, thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. There's nothing else, then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll turn it back to the council for any further discussion or questions, action here tonight. Councilmember Perucci.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, Jason, question for you. If the commercial designation was approved, correct me if I'm wrong, but there would be a requirement to build a masonry wall. Can you just talk a little bit about those requirements and what that would look like?
Yeah, so the ordinance requires in any situation where we have incompatible uses, meaning commercial adjacent to, in this case, single-family residential, requires solid masonry fencing surrounding the project area. There is allowance in the code, and this would be part of the site plan approval for that fencing requirement to be modified for areas of future commercial development. However, in this situation, we don't have a general plan that indicates that is the case, so I would anticipate, should the zoning be approved and changed to commercial, that requirement would stand for solid masonry fencing on the 3 sides of the property.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilmember Broker?
Thank you, Mayor. One of the most compelling comments I read was from a resident who lives on 2700 who has concerns with the lighting from the commercial on the back of their property. This property seems similar to that, and how would those lighting, if it's moved to commercial, how would those lighting concerns be addressed?
So we do have some updated language in our code regarding lighting that is within a certain distance of single-family residential. So for the north side of any commercial development on these properties, there would be some restrictions on time. Time meaning lighting would have to be off by a certain time period. So that ordinance that we recently adopted would apply to those lights that face towards the north. And that's not just specific to holiday lighting, even though that was the theme of that particular amendment. So there would be some limitations on that. And actually, now that I say that, that would be to the east and the west as well. Forgive me, I was focused on the north side, but any lighting that faced existing residential use would be limited in duration to certain hours of the day.
It's kind of a catch-22 because it's limited but required.
Correct.
Commercial?
Correct. So there would be shielding that's required, downlighting, things of that nature. But that is, in general, that is one of the things that is difficult about having commercial that is surrounded on 3 sides by residential. It does create some limitations in terms of lighting and placement of structures, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, one of the comments that was raised had some concerns about construction on the road. I mean, this 126 there is owned by UDOT. There wouldn't be any disruption there per se. Is that correct?
I believe, well, I'm not sure specifically what was being referred to. The project across the street from here to the south, that large open space is under development commercially. There's a bank on the corner. It involves some lane closures and some other utility work that took much longer than anticipated, not as a result of any city action, but so there was some disruption to the traffic pattern. I would not anticipate anything similar to that given the scope, but that I believe is what caused some of the disruption that gentleman indicated.
Thank you. Councilmember McKay.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to explain my vote tonight. So I went on to Wasatch Front Regional Council's traffic maps, and I looked at the traffic along 126th, and it says currently in that stretch, it's about 30,000 cars a day that are going past it. If you look behind the property to that cul-de-sac that has 5 homes, if each of those homes had 5, trips a day, or 25 for that whole cul-de-sac, it would be 0.00083% of the ones that, compared to the traffic out in front. And so I would never in a million years support changing the density of any of those or changing any of the homes within the neighborhood to commercial, but I view this as very different. I also wanted to mention that earlier today I had the privilege of visiting with Pat Fitzgerald, who is in this corner house that's just to the west of this property. And she said that she feels it's inevitable, that she feels like she's been a buffer to the rest of the neighborhood for all of the traffic, both on 3600 West and 12600 South. And I mentioned to her that we were going to be looking at updating our general plan later this year. And she says that she hopes that her property is included as a commercial gateway. And in the future, she would hope to change it. She feels like if she were to change her property to commercial, that it would increase the value of her property. She knows that, if she sold that back half or ever sold her property, that there wouldn't be another house that was built on it because of the traffic. And so I thought that that was interesting. But I also wanted to say that I did drive by the applicant's current business in Bluffdale, and we know some neighbors that live in that cul-de-sac. They said they're great neighbors, and it doesn't negatively affect them, that they have a large shed that stores some of the equipment. Also, I was at an event earlier this week and talking, and a neighboring mayor heard the discussion and could not believe that Riverton City would consider, not allowing a commercial development on that, corner in Riverton with the traffic count. And somebody asked what the benefit is to the city, and it does increase our sales tax base. Anytime there's a business that opens in Riverton, it helps provide taxes to our city. And so I think it does benefit the entire city by having a business instead of a residential. My district is just across the street on 126th. And I think that if I were to ask my district, what your opinion is of this, I think that by far and I did talk to some of my neighbors, and all of them were in support of this. So sometimes I feel like a neighborhood gets scared about change, but also I think it's really important that we allow personal property rights. And that's something I feel like I've fought for in my years on the council. And it's on the burden of those neighbors to show that it violates their rights or that there was a taking. And it's even in the Utah Constitution and the US Constitution that personal property rights are protected. And I don't believe in Riverton or other cities that the surrounding neighborhood or neighbors should have a say on what somebody else's storage shed looks like or what they do on their property if it doesn't harm their property. And I think that, there is already traffic along here. I don't think that you can use the excuse that it's going to cause more traffic. I really feel like this is a good use in this area. And in Riverton, we support businesses. We waived business license fees. And I think that if we truly believe in supporting our businesses, and especially if the property owner to the west is planning on and hoping to change her property to a commercial, and we're going to be looking at this later this year, and I know some council members have said, well, we'll wait and do it with the general plan. And I think all of you are here and we're noticed with this, and I think it makes sense to do it now instead of waiting until later this year and changing the general plan at that time. So for that reason, I'll be supporting this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Haymond? I'm sorry, we ended up closing the public comment period, so we can't have any comments right now from the public. I'm sorry, this is now the time for the council to discuss. So Councilmember Haymond, excuse me, I'm sorry, we can't have any comments. Outburst, please. We've all been very orderly here tonight. I appreciate that. So many people that are here. Thank you so much. Councilmember Haymond, then we have Councilmember Perucci and McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My main concern, which Councilmember McKay actually just addressed a little bit, is we've got our general plan, and if we step outside our general plan frequently, we get to, like, I mean, it opens up Riverton for many, many more discussions of this nature, pitchforks and torches and all that fun stuff. And while the torches bring a great ambience, you know, the pitchforks are less, you know, comfortable. But we have been very good tonight. I appreciate everyone and the decorum. But the step outside and spot zone things opens us up to everything becomes a spot zone. Spot zone here, spot zones there, the spot zone. You know, anyone especially that's sitting on a major corridor like this that would like their property to be addressed or looked at. And so that's my concern. Jason, I don't know if you can answer any of that, if that the spot zoning creates an issue, or I like to try to make sure we've got a foreseeable future with the general plan.
Thank you. I don't know if there's a question there of staff. Your question is whether or not a spot zone.
Yeah, the question is yes. If we start spot zoning things, I mean, my understanding historically is with cities spot zoning, it creates fractured, broken developments where you get little pockets of businesses up and down the street that are, you know, like in the case of this, we got a wall 3 sides of this thing off with a massive concrete fence. And then everything for the future, you know, I mean, to undo that in the future and have something more contiguous, something more, you know, streamlined, and we just chop the whole street up into tiny little segments. Yeah. It creates more issues with ingress, egress on the street. It creates a lot of different issues. Whereas if we can work things from a general plan and take it at a bigger level and work together with neighboring parcels and so forth, I will say I do really like the open land. At the same time, I know I'm kind of blending my comment here, but I agree that the bigger lots, the open land, is definitely a benefit of the Riverton area. And we want to protect those. But at the same time, I understand. I used to live on Redwood Road, and we knew that thing was widening, and we moved off of it because of it widening. And we did not want to live on that area. We had the property as a rental for a period when it was widened. And it was very difficult just to find tenants to rent on, you know, what's basically a freeway now. But again, back to my comment. General plan, I think, is the route we've got to go. We've got to address it from a bigger angle.
Thank you. Councilmember Perucci and then McDougall.
I defer to Councilmember McDougall first, just because I've already spoken, if that's all right, and then I'd love to speak after him. But
I forgot that you had. Okay, thank you for telling me that.
I asked a question. I didn't opine, but I wanted to get more information. But just since I've already spoken.
No, I appreciate that. So, Wendy, you asked a question, what's the end goal? So, number one, I want to thank all of you. This is the end goal. Riverton is a community of citizens who have invested in our community, many of you, for a long, long time. We are an infilled city, and we are impacted by the cities around us. We're impacted by growth. We're impacted by change. The end goal is that we would make Riverton what it was intended to be and what it was why most of us moved here. That's going to be challenging. I think the best way to meet that end goal is through a general plan and through zoning. And that's what we've done. Years ago, when we did our last general plan review, we looked at our city and we said we could be like other cities and other mayors who have hodgepodge developed all over their cities. And then there's no continuity. There's not residential areas, there's not commercial areas. It's just kind of this mishmash of blend. And I don't think that's what our citizens want in this community. We've heard not only from citizens here, but in other parts of our city, that we would like to maintain the integrity of the zoning that people bought into. And that when we change the integrity of the zoning in our community, there is a taking. I appreciate Councilmember Broker bringing up the lighting issue. For those people who once enjoyed a quiet, peaceful setting, they now have commercial lighting shining into their backyard. They now can no longer enjoy their backyard like they used to. And so it is a balance of property rights and personal rights. But personally, the thing that makes this country great, and the guarantee of property rights, is that I can take my property, my cash, and I can go buy a property. I get to choose where I'm going to live and how I'm going to live. Once we engage in that process, to a degree, we give away a little bit of our right for the community. That's what zoning's about. Zoning says, this is what this area is going to be. So I exercise my right to live in a half-acre area with the expectation that that's what it's going to be, that all of us will honor what that zoning is from there on out. And so there's always a little bit of a reduction in property right when we choose to live in a certain area under those certain zoning that's there. And so I feel like a couple years ago when we did our master plan, I felt this council did a great job because we stopped hodgepodge development. We stopped spot zoning, and what we said is let's establish residential areas and let's establish commercial areas. Tonight's been a perfect example of how that has been successful because we've held our ground and we've not done spot zoning. We now have, and we saw in our very first one, there's still commercial properties available down on 126. And that property that we rezoned works perfect in that area where there are other commercial and industrial products. And there are other lots that are vacant lots up and down our city that already have existing zoning for this type of a property and this type of a use. And if we hold tight to our zoning, then those commercial properties maintain their value. And we build a healthy economic sector and a healthy residential sector. I think we've seen the idea that Councilmember Heyman talked about in the project we've seen on Redwood Road. There were multiple parcels that the developer went in and then brought in a cohesive plan. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what the overall look's going to be, and it's fit in with the residential nature of that subdivision. To go from residential to commercial is a big, big jump. And I've always felt, and my final outcome is always going to be, I don't like spot zoning. Many cities have done spot zoning, and it hurts their commercial sector because it just spreads out all over, and which actually ends up hurting your tax base. And we can see those in other communities up and down because they flee, and what's left behind is not as desirable or properties that are more dilapidated. So I feel like we should continue to hold to our plan. That's what people can always expect. If we have a plan, that's why it is a plan. And so for all those reasons, to answer your question, that's my vision for Riverton. Let's respect the citizens who've already invested here. We have areas for commercial zoning, and I appreciate it. I've talked with Rob. This has nothing to do with Rob or his business, in my opinion. I think he runs a great business, and I'm sure the neighbors love him where he's at. This has nothing to do with him, and I appreciate the neighbors haven't made this personal. This is just about maintaining the integrity of what we want Riverton to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. And it's no offense to the applicant, but we don't know what's going to happen once this is commercial 5, 10, 15 years from now. So with that in mind, I want to respect the people who have come here and have spoken up. And I think that that's why we need to leave it what it is and continue to have that approach to our city in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you. We really don't, we encourage people not to applaud, but understand. Let's hold that, please. Everyone's had an opportunity to speak. Every council member. Councilmember Perucci, you wanted to weigh in again?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate the discussion, and I want to echo what Councilmember McDougall said. I really appreciate all the resident engagement and feedback. It's been helpful to hear. It's awesome to see such community involvement and engagement. I wanted to address a couple of things that have been talked about tonight. As Councilmember McKay said, I see there being a major difference between the beautiful Riverton Meadows subdivision, which I drove through recently to just kind of get a feel for it. I've been there before, but to get a feel for it, fresh of mind, and it's incredible for those that are set back or off of 126 versus those that face 126. It's a different type of living experience for those residences. And that's where I see this being a little bit different than your lived experiences, because it's on 126th, on a road that is designated to be a state highway that has such significant amounts of traffic. I actually completely agree with the comments that have been said about focusing on the general plan and going through the regular process. But I also think that we shouldn't allow that process to stop us with something that we have already planned on exploring and likely will be changing in a few months when we have a willing investor. I would like to point out that our last vote was amending the general plan. We just amended the general plan to allow 10 townhomes to be built on a property that was not part of the general plan. And so I agree with you, and I generally prefer that. And I've said that every single meeting, that's generally where I stand. I agree with what Councilmember McKay said, though, that we are seriously considering the parcels that face 126th amending the general plan in a few months to allow for commercial. We have a willing investor who is willing to invest in our community and to build their business and grow their business in our community. I don't think we should wait 6 months just for process, especially when we've been willing to amend the general plan at times, because that's generally the intent, our vision of the city. I mean, that last one was a unanimous vote because that was the intent of the council probably when the other parcels were rezoned. And so I think generally speaking, we should stick to the general plan. But because of the differences in the neighborhood versus 126 South, because we have a willing investor who owns the property and is willing to invest in our community, which, as Councilmember McKay said, we have done a lot of work to make ourselves as business friendly as possible and to help our community to thrive, which keeps our taxes low generally as a city because we have such a vibrant residential and vibrant commercial base. And because of the requirements, honestly, I think that the Mason fence will help mitigate other impacts that could be felt. As far as the lighting piece, our ordinance changes mitigated that as well. I mean, there's no longer lights that are shining on residential neighborhoods. We have rules requiring them to be shielded, turned away from residential residences. And so I think that we've done a really good job as a council, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback from others to try to minimize impacts when there are clashes of zoning. But I would say that if it's our intent to seriously consider rezoning this section in the general plan in a few months, I don't think it's worth waiting a few months to do so when we have somebody willing to act at the speed of business right now. So that's why I'm planning on voting in favor of this.
Thank you.
Mayor,
any other?
If I could interject really briefly, just because I believe there was a question about the information that Councilmember McKay conveyed. I just don't like leaving those hanging. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember McKay. This is the mapping system for Wasatch Front Regional Council, looking at average daily traffic over the year, which means some days are higher, some days are lower. The current level is about I can't read that now, about 28,000. The projected as we get to 2028 gets closer and closer to 30,000, and then looking to the extent of their plan, it is over 30,000. So this information comes through Wasatch Front Regional Council. It is average data, but I just wanted to make sure for the record it was clear where that had come from. Is that correct? Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Jason. Councilmember Broker and then McDougall. We've got some more discussion on this, and we'll see if we have some action here tonight. Councilmember Broker, then McDougall.
Thank you. First of all, I hope the residents can see that we really do toil with making these decisions, and we don't make them lightly. And we have all talked amongst ourselves following these meetings that one of the things we really value about this particular council is that we're all able to voice our opinions respectfully, that we listen to each other, and that we consider other people's points of view. So I really respect that from all of you, and I thank you for that. For me, first of all, in full disclosure, you need to realize that, yes, those homes facing 126, the reality that they will probably remain homes through your lifetime might be unrealistic. It's a difficult place to live. Now, it would have been nice if the developer had been more like the developers, some of them on 134, and they had seen the growth in Riverton, and they had turned those homes so they were backed. So that backyard was on 126. That would have made a huge difference, but that didn't happen. And I've seen the one we just approved before this. One of the things that those new homes have done is there's some beautiful large homes behind. And they were very concerned about the development. But what the new development has done is really buffered them from all the traffic on Redwood Road. And so I think any development on Redwood Road on 126 could do the same. However, at this time, I think we wait for the general plan, because I'm not interested in seeing any business invest in putting a fence all the way around their property and figuring out how to do that lighting. And it's not just about the shielding. I think now we have something in the ordinance about the height of the light. They might have to do some planing of the land. And then if the rest of it does go commercial, then you've got all those ingresses and egresses that I think would be complicated and make that road more dangerous. So I think we stick with the general plan. And the other thing you should realize is when the general plan is changed, that does not mean that it automatically, a commercial developer can come in and develop it. It still has to go through the entire planning process. So it's really only a primary step. But for those reasons, I'm going to vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McDougall.
Yeah, I just want to make one last comment, and then if there's no more discussion, I'd like to make a motion, if you could get that up for me, Jason. I appreciate what everyone shared. I think there's a dramatic difference from the general plan change we made on Redwood Road in this. The general plan change on Redwood Road is like product. It's residential in a residential area. The change is simply density, which, as Councilmember Baroker pointed out, has allowed a buffer from one residential to another. This is a considerably different change, and that neighborhood has a feel. You know, full disclosure, I've driven through that, and I've stolen some of your guys' gardening ideas. I mean, there is a feel, and so to go from residential to commercial is a big change. And so I agree with you. We do make general changes to the plan, but generally it's similar to similar, not something that's different. Yeah, there could, in the future, be a need. But frankly, we have a need right down here of vacant land that's sitting weedy, that could be commercial property, that could be, we have vacant spots all over. To drop one more commercial thing in the middle while we wait, I think is a mistake. I personally, and I was under the assumption that when it came to the general plan, so I want to be very careful because I don't want to impugn anyone, but we're making discussions like this is a foregone conclusion in the general plan that this is going to go commercial. I was under the assumption that what we were going to do was meet with our residents and get the feedback of the residents of what they would like to see. I'm meeting with my residents, and they're telling me what their feedback should be for this area. So to me, the decision is, are we going to on the residential process of the general plan, or are we just going to do whatever we want to do and what we think is going to happen? If that's the case, then there's no reason for us to have meetings in our city, because we can't ask our residents for their feedback and then say, we see a vision differently. So with that in mind, I would like to make a motion. I move the City Council deny ordinance 25-03, proposal to amend the general plan and rezone .096 acres located at 3516 West, 12600 South, thus keeping the property designated as estate density residential in the general plan and keeping the current zoning of R-1 1-acre lots.
Motion seconded by Councilmember Baroker. Any discussion to that?
Yeah, I would like to just answer on the general plan piece. I wasn't saying that it's a foregone conclusion, but if you listen to the Planning Commission meeting, the majority of the planning commissioners recommended that it be transitioned to commercial gateway in the general plan update. And in conversations that we've had, we've talked about high traffic corridors being transitioned to commercial like is being discussed in this recommendation. So that's why I simply said that if that's the intention of the majority of this council at this point, later this year to do that, it seems like a waste of time to do so 6 months from now as opposed to doing it now for this piece. And I agree with you. I was the one that recommended we get feedback from residents. We all represent districts, and then we have to make decisions based on the good of the entire city with the input from the residents. We live in a republic, not a democracy, and our residents elect us to make the best decisions with all the information we have before us, not necessarily represent the will of the majority of the people that communicate to us. And so I would just say that it's important to get feedback, but it's important also for us to learn in other manners as elected representatives of the people. So I agree with what you're saying, and I'm excited for that conversation that we're going to have with the residents in every single council district. And I think that it's going to inform us in our discussion about the general plan, but we're also going to get information from a lot of other people.
Thank you. Any other discussion to that motion? Jamie, could you conduct a vote, please?
Councilmember Baroker.
I get a little confused with the deny and the yes, but I'm in support of the motion.
Okay, yes.
Yes, right?
Haymond.
Yes.
Perucci.
No.
McKay. No. McDougall.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Appreciate again everybody who was here tonight. The motion carries 3-2, meaning that it has been denied. We appreciate you being considerate here this evening and being able to share your opinions in such a way. Thank you again to the applicant and all those that took a lot of time out of their night tonight to come out and voice their opinions, so we appreciate that. Thank you. The only thing else on the agenda is item 10B, which is the open public meetings training that Mr. Carter will be given. And Ryan, there's no, we don't have a closed session for this evening, do we?
This is just a reminder that we'll be rolling out the training module once again, and we just put it on the record to make a
Thank you.
note on the record.
We'll wait for the audience to clear out then.
The meeting, we got one more thing to go through, which is Bible Public Meetings Act training, which will be a 3-minute announcement. Then I think we're done. And it worked well. They met you.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Just a couple people speaking.
That's what look at it this way. If you zone just that one piece of ground, he's got to put up a masonry wall around 3 sides. If you do a general amendment on the entire frontage, you've got one mitigation measure. That includes the possibility of consolidating the properties into something bigger. Right. Yeah. That was my thinking. Not Osmond?
The one who's just here tonight.
Oh. Were you talking about Dave Morton? That's...
Let's look at the whole.
Let's make it bigger. I think you've just got to. I think that. Have you had your first meeting with that level of opposition you're seeing?
Was it interesting?
So it's just a. But you might have some ways in which you can get that by coming up with an actual final plan. Yeah.
All right, council, I know we kind of had a impromptu meeting or break there, but we need to proceed with our final item, 10B. So Ryan, we'll have you go ahead.
We note on the record, we're just placing this item on the agenda so that we have a record that demonstrates that we go through annual training on the Open Public Meetings Act. What we're going to do is, following tonight, we'll send you out an email that will contain a link for a video for you to go through, and then you'll provide your certificates of completion to the city recorder, and that will complete our record. So we're no longer going through the training here because the video is just a pretty efficient way of doing it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, nothing else on the agenda. We note our strategic planning meeting on January 11th. We'll meet here at 8 a.m. So if there's nothing else, member of the council needs to bring forward to this body tonight, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councilmember McKay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
McDougal, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We stand adjourned.